Virtual reality is slightly misnamed. Virtual reality is really an alternate or an enhanced reality.
Yeah.
And when it arrives, it will change everything.
Hello, my name's Claire. I'm here today at Waymaker Consulting, doing an interview, all things virtual reality, talking about the fitness resort and WebXR.
Hi Claire, thanks for having me here today. My
Thank
name is Yin-Chien Yeap. Everybody calls me Yinch, and I am the founder, CEO, and CTO of the fitness resort.
And what is the fitness resort?
Well, the fitness resort is a social VR fitness experience delivered over the web so everybody can access it and so they can get fit with friends.
Sounds amazing. And what led you to conceptualise the fitness resort?
I previously worked with an Olympic skier on a ski simulation that used a treadmill called the Carver, the body carver. And since that point, we have always looked for ways to make fitness more fun because going to the gym is boring.
Yes.
And so we've been trying to gamify fitness for various years. We've been trying to gamify fitness for some years now.
Yeah.
And when VR came into the consumer space, we thought it was a natural fit to try to bring fitness into the VR space, given our history of having been making fitness more fun.
Yeah. And what previous experience do you have in the game development industry?
Before working on the fitness resort, I used to work on game consoles for Nintendo and PlayStation. I also brought 3D game technologies to commercial space, making exhibition installations for Ford and Mazda and Samsung. And most recently, when consumer VR became common, I was writing VR educational experiences for schools.
Wow. Vast amount of knowledge.
I worked on a game called Rat Attack, which was on the Nintendo 64, and now you know how old I am. And I was the lead developer on that. And it was a game about catching mice. Rats. It's not mice attack.
With over 30 years experience in graphics, mobile tech and video games, is there a moment that has defined your career?
Each of those phases had a different aha moment, but I guess if I trace it all the way back, it would be when I first got a computer at home and I played games for a few months, and after that I said, this is amazing. I don't want to just play this, I want to be making this.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I've been programming, and that was some decades ago.
Yeah.
And I still love making software now.
Yeah. I can remember when my dad first got an Amiga, and it used
Fine machine.
yeah, and he used to go to a computer club and come back with a new floppy disk with a new game on. I remembered playing that in the early 80s and things like that.
Excellent.
It was good fun. If you had to describe your career journey to where you are now in 3 words, what of those 3 words?
Never stop learning. I think it's a space that requires us to be able to absorb new information and new paradigms, and to acknowledge that learning is lifelong. And I know it's a bit of cliche to say, it's absolutely true. And the learning is not a thing that is like the learning is not a downside. It keeps you young.
Yeah.
To always be learning new stuff, and
Yeah.
there are always new opportunities. It's not really a space where things are known and very old, and if you missed the boat, another will be along shortly.
Yeah.
So always keep learning.
Yeah. And as the owner of Playco for more than 20 years, what do you know now that you wish you had known 20 years ago?
The most important thing I've learned is that people and relationships are important. Also, things take longer than you think. But having a good network of support, building good relationships with people in the space, with people like your customers and your clients, is a distinguishing feature.
Yeah.
Making it all just about the money or the process is very dehumanizing, and everybody you deal with is another person with feelings and lives. And I think that knowing that to be paramount in building anything, not just a business, was quite important.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a businessman yourself, what is the biggest lesson and takeaway that you've learned so far?
The biggest takeaway and lesson I've learned from being a businessman is we get further together. Cooperation has worked for me much better than competition.
Yeah.
Perhaps being in a new technology space, I have that luxury, but certainly the collaborations have been the most fruitful and productive aspects of the work.
What excites you most about the future possibilities that virtual reality could bring?
Yeah. Pull up a chair, take a seat. Virtual reality will cause disruption in all things. We are in very early days. People think of virtuality as mainly a gaming platform. When virtuality gets into full flight, it will alter society completely. Work will change, education will change, tax will change. I think that's when it'll really show up. Because when people think about virtual reality, they think about the virtual part of it, that somehow it is something less than a mimic of something more substantial. But virtuality is slightly misnamed. Virtuality is really an alternate or an enhanced reality.
Yeah.
And when it arrives, it will change everything.
Amazing. Very exciting to what will become in the next even like 5 years. And in your own words, what is WebXR and why was it chosen in the development of the fitness resort?
WebXR is a way of delivering immersive VR experiences through a web browser, so nothing needs to be installed.
Yeah.
It's supported on phones, on most phones, on desktop, and notably on headsets like the Quest 2 here. And it allows developers to create experiences and publish them the same way they publish a web page. So you don't need to install anything, and you get a lot of the benefits of being on the web.
And so is that why it was chosen for the fitness resort, because it's more accessible for people?
When we were making the fitness resort, we wanted to make sure that people could try it out as easily as possible, and publishing it in WebXR meant that they were just one web address away from trying it out rather than having to go to some shop or put in their credit card or anything. So using the web allowed us to deliver a first contact experience to everybody without a lot of friction.
How did the collaboration with Wonderland Engine, White Rabbit and Construct Arcade come to fruition?
The WebXR community is young and quite small. I joined the WebXR Discord, and on the Discord there was all the practitioners and developers in the space. And in that space I had first arrived to try to make my project in Unity, but Unity's particular tool chain did not produce the performance required for SkiFit 365, which is the first game that the fitness resort made.
Yeah.
And so we had to find an alternative engine to get it done. And in the Discord space, Wonderland Engine was there, presenting itself as an alternative. And after the game was made, we had to find somewhere to publish it. And Construct Arcade is a natural space because it publishes just WebXR experiences, and it took care of a number of the housekeeping features for us in terms of like membership and payment systems. So we eventually published SkiFit 365, and over 1 million people have visited the page.
That's amazing. Oh, well, hopefully the fitness resort will surpass that in the future. And is it your intention to always use WebXR technology for the fitness resort?
I think the reasons for using WebXR will actually increase over time. I think the performance gap, which is the main reason people say WebXR has a limitation about what you can achieve with WebXR, is less, but really with engines like the Wonderland engine, then the gap is very, very minor. In the hands of a good designer, it solves many of the problems of native development and allows you to be accessible on lots of platforms. So it works on the Quest 2, but it also works on the recently released Pico 4, and actually works on PC VR headsets as well.
Are there any limitations in VR and in particular WebXR technology?
VR is still relatively young. At the moment, I think that the limitations are much more to do with familiarity in the user. I think the Quest 2 has done a lot to smooth out the experience. But because it is new, then people just sometimes get a little bit lost with it. I think the pricing of Quest headsets are now approached console level, so it is as affordable as a consumer device. But in the same way, we had to learn to use mobile phones or smartphones all those years ago, how apps work and all that. I think that the main barrier to VR adoption is actually familiarity and awareness and familiarity, which will come around. I think for a long time, VR technology was quite immature, and there were too many hoops to jump through. But now I think they've simplified that, and if people try out VR, they will discover that it is no harder to use than your phone, which is good.
Yeah.
Another limitation of VR technology is that an expectation that VR games, being the next generation, will exceed the previous iteration of PC games or console games, and the number of practitioners and certain requirements within VR make it quite hard to attain an equivalent quality. So the challenge for VR is trying to find its sweet spot rather than trying to borrow the sweet spot from the medium before.
Yeah.
And it's like chicken and egg situation, because developers will develop for a market that has customers will come to a market which has lots of titles. So in some ways, the fitness resort is trying to prime the pump by saying, we believe the market is there and we want to make something that will bring people into the space, and hopefully that will attract other developers into the space.
Yeah.
And inhale, sorry. Long sentences.
What is your hope and long-term vision for the fitness resort?
We hope that lots of people will meet friends and try out the fitness resort. We hope that people will be able to use the fitness resort as a place to meet as much as it is to get fit. And my long-term goal is that the fitness resort is the beginning of an ecosystem of virtual reality applications which are high utility, fun, social, all the benefits of social media combined with video gaming.
Yeah.
We start seeing examples of people being social in things like Roblox and Fortnite, and I think the fitness resort wants to come alongside these titles and bring VR to it and to make it accessible to as many people as possible.
The fitness resort's mission is to deliver an online web-based game that is fun, incorporates fitness and is accessible. Why is that important to you?
It's important to me because new technologies always have this starting barrier. There are lots of reasons why people can give for not trying something out. And we wanted to make the fitness resort highly accessible using WebXR so that people have no excuse for not trying it. In the same way that whenever somebody asks you to try out a game that you have installed, you always have an excuse to say, well, I had to download it, I had to take time, make space. But when somebody shares a video with you and it's just a link, it's very hard to say no.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to make the fitness resort a VR experience that is hard to say no to, even if it's out of politeness. But I think if people try it out, they'll be pleasantly surprised.
And what is one feeling you would like someone to take away with them after playing the fitness resort?
Oh, I ruined this answer because I said it in the last one.
Oh.
but the feeling I want them to have is surprise.
Yeah.
I want them to be surprised how easy it is to use.
Yeah.
And I want them to be surprised that they got a workout without thinking about it. They were just playing the game, and after that they'll be exhausted.
Yes.
And while you're playing it, they'll just be trying to, beat their friend in a race or trying to get a high score. And from the point of view of engagement, it's mainly about gaming.
Yeah.
But in terms of how we made the fitness resort, you get fitness benefits while trying to do well at the game.
Even though the fitness resort is currently in its infancy, but what has been your proudest moment so far in the journey?
I think as a small studio founder, I've never had a very large team to work with, but I think the fitness resort has made me proud by how the different teams with different skill sets have come together to deliver the project.
Yeah.
So it's much more about the context of the product.
What has been the greatest engineering challenge when developing the fitness resort, and how did you and your team overcome it?
The biggest engineering challenge for the fitness resort was finding the right balance between quality and sort of speed of download. Yeah. We wanted to make an experience that was rich, but we also didn't want people to have to wait a long time for the downloads to happen. So trying to strike the balance was difficult. Also targeting the Quest platform meant that we had to work within the constraints of the capability and performance of the headset. It might have been easier to choose a more powerful headset, but we wanted to make the software accessible, so we chose a more consumer-friendly grade of headset.
Yeah.
And so the engineering challenge was just striking that balance between making it good enough and fast enough and small enough to download. Balance.
And
do I have to answer how I achieved it?
Yes.
We achieved the balance by using a lot of tools to measure where the resources were going. We went through great pains to track the download times of things, and we used an expert team of WebXR developers to help us achieve that. Rather than trying to just throw everything at it randomly, we also made a lot of effort to try to measure performance as we went along.
What is the fitness resort's greatest challenge in terms of convincing fitness enthusiasts that exergaming is a new way to work out?
Exergaming, which is combining exercise with gaming, is a natural progression. I think I imagine that lots of fitness enthusiasts will say that a VR headset is not the same as a gym equipment. But I think that starting with examples like Peloton and Supernatural, that it is a question that we are not answering by ourselves. Other people in the space have started moving towards letting people do fitness in an interactive video gamey sort of way. And so we are doing the same thing, but we are also increasing accessibility of it by publishing it using WebXL.
So would you say that the fitness resort is inclusive?
The fitness resort is inclusive to the extent that we have chosen a platform that is highly affordable by consumers. We've also created game modes within it. We've also created game modes within the fitness resort that allow you to either race or just exercise or roam with friends. So depending on what mood you're in, you always be able to find some game mode in the fitness resort. And so I think it's inclusive because it addresses people's different use patterns of the software.
And why were skiing, snowboarding and hoverboarding chosen as the first three sports to choose from?
We chose skiing because our fitness consultants are all Olympic skiers. And having built a ski resort, it was natural to make snowboarding be a companion piece to it. And we included hoverboarding, which is something new. Because we included hoverboarding because we wanted to mix the familiar with the fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think the medium of VR allows us to try things out that you can't do in real life.
Yeah. And other than experts in the game development industry, what other experts does the fitness resort have to give it status?
The design of the fitness resort included the input and design ideas of Olympic skiers and people who are professional athletes, and their input has allowed us to strive towards a fidelity in the fitness activities to make sure that we are addressing muscle groups, that we're achieving fitness goals while the gameplay is going on. So we have experts in fitness alongside our experts in video game development.
And what value are you adding to the gaming industry through the fitness resort?
We are breaking ground in the area of making web-delivered VR a credible medium, delivering a quality of experience that we hope people are willing to pay subscription for. Yeah. We are showing that VR is able to displace or to replace an existing physical activity, in this case going to the gym. And we also want to show that VR has utility. We are making the fitness resort to say that games aren't just for gaming. we want to show that VR has utility outside just video games, and I think fitness is a good category to pursue.
And what advice would you give to someone wanting to get into VR game development?
Anyone wanting to get into VR game development should just pick up the tools and start going. The medium is still so very, very young. Lots of new ideas are still to be had. You can develop using WebXR on the Quest headset. The Wonderland engine that we use is free to use and download. If you want to build something more powerful, you can also use existing tools like Unity on Unreal to make PC VR. So mainly dream big. If you're in VR game development, dream big, because there are continents yet to be conquered.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for all the information that you've imparted on us today. It's been very, very useful. If you'd like any more information about the fitness resort, head over to www.thefitnessresort.com, and we hope to see you at the fitness resort.